Greetings everyone, it's the Chief, back again for another review. First of all, I've just got to say a big welcome back to Rodimus Prime. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough at the moment, so I'll be sipping this throughout. But yes, a big welcome back to Rodimus Prime. You know, a great friend of mine who I banter back and forth on Skype. Great to see you back, dude, and keep bringing those reviews coming because we have missed you. Anyway, I'm going to crack on with this review because it's going to be quite a long one, I reckon. Now, I bought this figure out I've pretty much kept him in his box most of the time. Played around with him when I first got him out of the box, transformed and put him back in. Now, when I took him out, I didn't have this beard. It's so difficult to try and describe this figure, which of course is Masterpiece Rodimus. Now, I have firstly got him in his Winnebago mode there. I'll just show you that. Yeah. You know, for all intents and purposes, it looks great. I mean, you can't complain if you put that against the G1 counterpart, then yeah, it looks fantastic in terms of what it should like. You know, little detailing in the back, like the back doors itself there. It looks exactly as what it should, and you know, it's even got a little cockpit in the front. Completely useless though. It's purely cosmetic. You know, you've got the headrests, and then it's completely filled in with plastic there, so you couldn't even fit in a figure sitting there. You know, if you know you had a little Daniel figure or whatever. But appearances can be deceptive. And the reason why I say it's so hard to put into words how to describe this figure is because at the same time it's so frustrating. So, I mean, it's pure perfection. That's the best way I can describe this figure. And because it's so perfect, it is so frustrating too. I mean, it has to be absolutely transformed perfectly. Otherwise, you know, you will find yourself forever massaging parts back into place. But by in doing so, you pop out another piece, or a little piece doesn't go into where it should do, or or you have little flaps hanging around. It's perfection, but frustrating perfection, should I say. I mean, looks-wise, as I said, it looks brilliant, it looks perfect. Of course, this is the Takara version with the back trailer itself. But you can't help but feel cheated, because even though the G1 you simply just pull that out, which you do in this one as well, it hooks on and it gives you a false front end of the Winnebago mode, which, you know, it's cheating. But, you know, there's no two ways about it. You simply remove that piece there, which is humongous, by the way. It's a big-ass piece trailer. That serves no... I mean, you could literally just close that off, and, you know, you've virtually got the whole thing there. It is so frustrating, but I'll come to that later on. All you simply do is close that piece off, and then, you know, you've got your separate trailer itself there. It rolls perfectly well. In fact, no, I'll do the trailer first. Get that over and done with. The trailer itself, the transformation is perfectly simple. One finger, push that, done. It's so simple, and in here it houses all the accessories for Rodimus. You extend the big ass gun like that. It's got a huge fucking cannon there. Open out the blast shields. You can flip up like this little navigation computery thingy. Two little handles either side. And he's got a big ass fucking huge cannon. Which is brilliant. And I said this houses all these little accessories, which I'll show you later on. But that's pretty much the battle station mode for this thing, and it is absolutely humongous. You know, I think Rodimus is definitely compensating for something when he had this made for him. But anyway, that's the trailer out the way. But once you have removed the trailer, you are left with this little kind of mishmash thing, and it doesn't look great at all in any mode whatsoever. You know, no matter how you could describe that, and it's very simple to transform him back into hot rod mode, which is what we'll do now. If I can. Come on. That's it. Now, this is where the real frustration begins, because it has been made so perfectly. Every little piece of this little figure has to be in perfect harmony with each other. I mean, looks-wise, as it is now, yes, it makes you come in your pants. You know, it is exactly every fanboy's dream version of Hot Rod. You know, the looks, it depicts exactly what it should look like from the cartoons. It's got this nice kind of magenta pink going across the car with the headlights built into it, you know, the translucent plastic, the flame decals on the front itself, you know, going all the way back to the rear spoiler. You know, whichever kind of angle you look at the vehicle, it looks sexy. Just need to finish him off from his other mode. I mean, it's things like this, you know, the pipes on the car itself, you know, where they've made it so that when you transform him from Hot Rod to Rodimus, little touches that makes it so perfect and so precious. You know, it's just so adorable. Adorable? Adorable isn't really the word I would use, but you know what I mean. It's got that va-va-voom. It's menacing, it looks mean, it looks perfect. But, you know, when you look further beyond the aesthetics of this guy, I mean, you open up the canopy. Again, you've got such brilliant detailing in there of the steering wheel, you know, of these control panels and knobs and dials and so forth. But it's hindered by his feet, you know, coming through under the floorboard. Well, not floorboard, but under the base of the car itself. But at the same time, you know, where his feet actually come through, they've actually bothered. Don't know if this will pick it up, but they've actually bothered to make little notches to where his feet align within the vehicle itself. So yes, you've got that detailing in there, and yes, it makes every single inch, you know, square inch of space available in his transformation from robot into vehicle more sleeker by utilising every ounce of space in there. You know, again, I mean, it's very similar to a alternator, whereby, you know, you can pop up the hood and, you know, you can have the little engine in there, which in this case is the matrix, housed within this tiny, tiny, teeny tiny little matrix, which is kind of bizarre to have such a small matrix for such a large figure. So yeah, and then we flip the vehicle over itself there, and unless you've got everything perfectly aligned, everything clicking into its place, you know, you're not going to have a perfect rolling vehicle, whereby you won't have enough clearance to actually make it move. You know, and I said you'll be forever massaging parts back into place, you know, twisting or bending in some way or form. You know, it's so frustrating just to try and get it perfectly aligned. Now, the transformation process for this figure is actually relatively simple. But there have been quality issues with these figures themselves. Even I've experienced problems with this figure. But anyway, with the transformation itself, you know, for example, I mean, I don't usually go through the transformation, but if I just bend that, you know, just little things like that, you know, compacting the front end into his chest piece, you know, whereby the light just squeezes in. I think that's just absolutely fantastic. The way everything just clips into place, you know, it truly, truly is a masterpiece, but it's just so frustrating at the same time. Anyway, I'm going to quickly transform this figure. You know, there's problems with, like, again, I mean, that my thing keeps popping off. You know, these little flaps are meant to clip into that centre part there, which I have done in the past. But unless it's perfectly aligned, you know, it's simply not going to happen. You know, and the slightest flick out, you know, the slightest knock or something would simply, not, you know, flip the piece out, which is so frustrating. Anyhow, let's crack on. You know, the only way I've, you know, in fact, I've always described this of all masterpieces, which is they are, you know, how you can get those busts for figures, you know, that cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You know, those figurines and whatnot. I would liken them to this, because they are toys, in, you know, they are action figures and so forth. But the best way to describe them is transforming statues. Because that's the only way I can describe them. In fact, I'll talk to you face to face rather than look at me doing the transformation. Hello. You know, the only way I can describe this figure is as a transforming statue. Because that's essentially what they are. You don't buy masterpiece figures to play with, because they won't last long. They'll break, they'll snap, you know. But at the same time, it is frustrating that so many masterpiece figures. I mean, I wouldn't so much to say it's a quality issue. I would say it's more of a design issue, where they are so fragile in their design. That can cause them to break so easily. If we just get this piece back on. Come on, you bitch. Yeah, you kind of forgive them because of it. Because of that, you know, fact that they are masterpiece figures, you know, you are spending a lot of money on them, and you're not going to really give them to your 10-year-old kid to play with. You know, I would strongly say that, you know, these are purely collectible figures. You know, you wouldn't buy a £100 figure of the Hulk, you know, a statue, you know, a bust, and start playing around with it, or, you know, with a hammer and chisel. And it's the same with this figure itself. You know, these aren't designed as toys. You know, they are beautiful to be, you know, to be admired, but not to be played with. That's probably the best way I could describe them, if that makes sense to you. But you know, but even myself, I can't help feel done in by this figure. You know, the amount of money that I've paid for it, you would expect it to last a little bit longer than what you know, than what it does. Now, almost done. Now, the problem I find with a lot of these figures are... Oh, come on. I've got that one. People bitch and whine and moan and whatnot. And yeah, they can be temperamental. They truly can. You know, it's frustrating. That's the only way I can say it. It's truly frustrating. You know, and people are right to do so because of the amount of... I mean, they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. But what price would you pay for beauty? You know, and as I said, this guy is perfection. He truly is. It's the little touches that they've made in this figure. You know, it's like inside his arm, he's got these little pipe things, which, you know, help to finish off the look of the figure itself, which they didn't have to do. You know, they didn't have to do that at all, but they did. Someone went the extra mile for this figure. A lot of love went into this figure for the way it looks. You know, a lot of people moan about the backpack, for example. I don't know if people realise, but there's actually on a rail where you can actually slightly lower it so it tabs in better, so that will never come off. No matter how hard you tap it, flick it, you know, it won't come off. You know, it's simply tension held. So you hook it on and simply just pull that down just to hook it on that little bit extra. And that is really, really fixed in. Well, apart from there, but obviously you can hold it upside down. But generally, yeah, look, you know, it's fixed in place. But now that's it. That's Rodimus transformed. You know, I keep saying you know a lot. I think that's my phrase. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Hot Rod. It stands quite well, but this table is a bit wobbly. Now, I was talking about quality issues before. I've had the trouble whereby the spring in his leg has popped out. So it's a matter of unscrewing the springs, unscrewing the leg out, pulling the spring out, winding it back up. I chopped a little bit off and put it back in, and it now works absolutely fine. But you know, again, issues with the side panel on his leg popping off. I've had that issue, but it's just a matter of popping it back on as well. But other than that, I've not really had any problems at all. That's the other frustrating thing, is things popping off. You know, if you leave it as it is, obviously it won't move. But what I was talking about, massaging pieces back into place constantly, you know, because this can flip forward so easily, or this flips back so easily, you know, if you're moving a leg and you're holding it in that position, you know, it's going to pop out of place, and it is frustrating after a while. But, yes, as I've said, I'll give you Hot Rod. Now, look at him in all his glory, in his little G1 face there, in his fiery glory. Now, articulation-wise, cannot complain. Bends at the elbows, wrist bend, fingers, thumbs, head, everything you expect out of a masterpiece. So you can really, really go to town with posing him. However, because of his Dynasty shoulder pads, you know, you're limited to exactly how much you can pose him. So you couldn't really have his arms at an angle too much because of that, because of his big shoulder pads. You know, again, this is what I'm talking about. It's a bitch, but it's so perfect. You don't know which way to go. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Because it's a love-hate relationship with this figure. You truly love it because of its looks, its aesthetics. But in terms of his overall transformation process and stability, it is crap. Because you are forever massaging things back into place. But anyway, you know, he is looking as he's supposed to look. Gimmicks, he can open his hand out like so. Close that off. And that simply gives you the ability to add attachments onto his hand. And the attachments he comes with, if I bring back his trailer, he has two different attachments which you can have. Number one is this kind of buzzsaw blade, which simply pops into place like so. And that spins round, not freely, but, you know, it gives you that look from the movie when he's splitting fish and making robotic sushi. Remove that blade, and you've got a second part, which is like, I mean, it looks like a fuel can of sorts, but I do believe it's a welder when he's repairing Cup. Don't see that because I'm a black t-shirt, but there you go. That's the welder, which sits into place. It kind of looks odd because I would assume they would have done that in the same kind of grey, because it kind of like it kind of like looks weird with the colours. But anyway, those are the two parts that it comes with, and of course, he comes with these two little blasters, as did Hot Rod. Slightly shorter. I really should not have worn a black t-shirt today. But yeah, these are the two photon rifles, I guess you call them, whatever you want to call them. And these, again, are so frustrating because they simply peg into his hand. He doesn't actually hold them, which is really, really frustrating. Because they pop out so easily. Come on, you bitch. you know, and that's another thing, is look at those hands. They are so out of place. You know, they look like skeleton hands. They're so spindly and spiky and whatnot, and it's just so not masterpiece. I mean, I can understand why they've done it, but still, they could have done better. They could have done so much better. But again, these will peg into place, so they'll give you the illusion that he is holding them, even though he's not really holding them. So, you know, as Hot Rod goes, yeah, it's not a bad figure at all. It looks like he's supposed to look, but you know, like I said, it's a love-hate relationship. Now, if you remember the movie, if I remove those little guns there, you know, he spots the Autobot ship is coming down, and he uses his like binocular visor thing, so that comes included there as well, just by spinning his little I don't know, round things on his side of his head, his little earmuffs, I guess, headphones, I don't know. Yeah, spin those, and his head and his visor comes down, and he simply just pop those back up again, like so. Now, as we all know, he was also Rodimus Prime, and in order to transform him into Rodimus Prime, you simply pull back his head, like so, and it reveals his Rodimus face. So I'll do that quickly again, in case you missed that. You simply just pull his head back, and that reveals the Rodimus head. And from there, you simply just pull the helmet back down, and now he has a much more longer, wider looking face, because he's got the Matrix in his chest plate like so, and it's tiny. Yeah, he's definitely compensating for something there. Matrix envy, I think. But anyway, yeah, in order to finish off the transformation, you simply lift up his rear thingy spoiler, and you ever so much lift it that way, and you know, it's such a minute difference you can hardly notice. And of course you bring up his shoulders as well, which I think I've already done. What? Yeah, I've already done. So basically, this is Rodimus' shoulder from this angle, and this is Hot Rod's shoulder. So you simply just push that up, like so. You know, and again with the spoiler, it's such a minute difference. From there to there, from there to there. You can hardly notice the difference, it's so minute, but it's a nice little touch. And there you have Rodimus Prime. You know, I'm not going to go over the figures, but it does look fucking awesome. I must say that. Now, this is the best part I like, the blaster. You simply just combine the two weapons. One simply slots into the other, like so. And they lock into place, giving him a much... He's definitely compensating for something there, isn't he? But yeah, so that suddenly gives him a huge fucking cannon. Like so, and he can actually hold it double-handed, should you wish him to. But I'm not going to bother because it's so frustrating. But yes, he has a huge fucking cannon. Like so. Fuck off. Anyway, back to the trailer now, which of course he stands on par with, and he can hold the cannon like so, and also you can take his gun itself there and pop that underneath, like so, to give you more firepower for the figure itself. Oh god, this is so frustrating. I could fucking pull my pubic hair balls out thing. Yes, I could. And that, there you go. Him and his big ass fucking cannon gun thing. With his backpack that keeps fucking falling off. That I just said doesn't. It normally doesn't. It normally doesn't. But yes, that is Rodimus Prime with his trailer, with his big ass gun. What it can also do as well, this is what I mean by the little touches, is you can actually remove the gun itself there and slot them to the front. So you've got, you know, the huge fucking cannon at the front there and two little guns either side itself there. Or you can remove them and have them as rear-facing guns, should you want to. You know, it's someone's put a lot of effort, a lot of thought and effort into this figure itself. But, you know, what are you going to do? Have a look inside the trailer itself there. Nice detailing. Can't go wrong with that at all. As I said, it can hold the accessories there. So the spinning sword blade simply just slots into the side, and the welder thing simply again slots on the inside there, like so. And again, as I said, his weapons can be held inside the vehicle, which again is a nice little touch. Now try and close your little fucker. I'll sort that out later. Yes, this is Rodimus again. Now I'm going to compare him to his slight angle there. Okay, now these are the two figures side by side against each other, so hopefully we can get a really good comparison of the two figures. Now this is the Takara version and this is the Hasbro version. So for people who are deciding between the two and can't decide which one to get, now's the time to have a look. Now obviously the first thing we'll notice, we'll look at the head itself there, is the more of a lighter, almost white plastic on the Takara version, whereas it's a more darker silver grey colour on the Hasbro version. Again, it's got silver paint on top of his head there, whereas it's got more of this white paint on his head there as well. Again, on his shoulder, tops of his shoulders again, he's got the same kind of colour plastic itself there. Now moving down on his front chest plate itself there, you've got kind of red for his, I don't know, a collar I guess you would call it, and on his collar itself there, it's simply just the normal orange. Moving back, it's got the kind of classic hot rod flame decal going itself there, and whereas this one's got much more detailed kind of fire decal going on his chest itself there. Now the Autobot symbol there is simply just splattered on to that yellow background, whereas the Autobot symbol here is on a white background that's kind of stuck onto the front decal itself there. That's kind of like nice little detailing itself there. Now the red itself, you can see the difference there. This is kind of much more pinker, magenta colour, whereas this is a much more darker maroon colour. Headlights, it's got kind of like translucent yellow orangey plastic itself there, whereas the Hasbro, the Hasbro version has got a darker blue colour itself there. The crotch piece here, this is actually a translucent plastic, but what they've done, they've painted the underside so that the colour comes through on there, which is a nice little touch. And again, it's got this kind of like darker magenta colour on itself there, whereas that is just one colour painted, painted all over. And yeah, it's just gonna be just one colour. Now the orange itself on the legs, they're almost identical. There's a slight difference in the colour, but otherwise it's very, very nominal itself there. Going back to the hands, that's got more colouring and more detailing, which shows off the detailing really, which it doesn't really do on the Hasbro version. Knee joints, I don't know if you can see, it's probably easier if I turn it around on his back, like so. The knee joints there on the rear are orange, or kind of dark red, sorry, and the other one is orange on this side there. And the Hasbro version also has a black ass, whereas the Takara version has a red ass. Flip those back over again. You also have the shield, the shin plates itself there. Obviously the Takara one is pure black itself there, and the Hasbro one is red, but also has this kind of nice painted on hot one. Fuck, I can't talk today. G1 hot rod look to where he had his front shin stickers. Now, the feet itself, they're both die cast. However, this is more a grey colour, whereas this is all completely black itself there. I think that's really the main differences itself. I mean, there's also the spoilers, where this is all completely yellow. This one has an orange paint app to the centre, just simply differentiate between the fins and the centrepiece itself there. And I think that's the main differences between the two. Now, accessories wise, you do get the exact same accessories with the Takara as well as the Hasbro, except obviously the trailer itself. Now, with the Hasbro version, you get a red welder, and they've actually filled in the clear plastic on the spinny disc thing. They also include a larger matrix. That's the one that Optimus Prime came with, so that actually can split apart as well. So it looks like he's splitting the matrix. Bizarrely as well, it comes with an Autobot and Decepticon sticker, as well as the more arrows, I guess, to go on his arms. You also get the same photon rifle, which splits into two and one, but also has a nice little red piece on the end there, where the fins are, which is a nice touch, and little blue parts. If I can find it, where is it? I can't see because of the light. We can just about make the blue on there, hopefully, yep. There's the blue there. But what the Hasbro version also comes with is an offshoot figure, Target Master for the Hot Rod, which I forgot to mention as well. If I flip that over, on this front engine piece itself there, this will actually flip open and can hold the figures like so. I said, but oops, wrong one. Yeah, you can actually flip open the engine piece itself there, the top of it, and that will simply hold one of his guns in place, like so, to give it that G1 Target Master look. This probably might be one of my worst reviews. I'll probably come back to it at some point, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the review anyway. I hope you like the comparison of the two figures itself, and hopefully that will make someone's Christmas should they receive one of these figures. But anyhow, this is the Chief, logging off for now.